Welcome back, Cowboys Nation. We have some absolutely massive news to get into today, and it's the kind of news that every diehard fan has been waiting for all offseason long. The Dallas Cowboys have officially finalized their practice squad for the 2025 season, and let me tell you, there were some shocking cuts, surprising additions, and a few eyebrow-raising roster moves that nobody really saw coming. When the regular season is right around the corner, this is the point in the year where you start to see the final pieces of the puzzle come together, and Dallas is clearly sending a message about the direction this team wants to go in. Now, if you thought the roster cuts were tough, the practice squad announcements might be even tougher to digest for some fans, because we've got a mix of familiar faces, unexpected returns, and a couple of departures that will sting for a while. So sit tight because we're going to break this all down in detail. And by the end of this video, you'll know exactly who made it, who didn't, and what this all means for the Dallas Cowboys moving forward into the 2025 NFL season. The practice squad doesn't always get the spotlight, but make no mistake, it's one of the most underrated elements of any NFL team. These are the players who stay ready in the background, the ones who get called up when injuries hit, or when the coaching staff wants to inject some fresh energy into the roster. And with the Cowboys in particular, history has shown that practice squad players often end up playing significant snaps during the season. So when the Cowboys finalize a practice squad, it's not just about filling out the numbers, it's about laying out a blueprint for depth, development, and even potential breakout stars. This year's list comes with a lot of intrigue. First of all, Dallas managed to retain some young talents that many fans were hoping would stick around, but there were also some veteran cuts that left people scratching their heads. The balance between keeping developmental prospects versus holding on to experienced depth is always a fine line, and this year the Cowboys leaned a bit more toward the upside of youth rather than the security of veterans. Now let's talk about the cuts, because this is where a lot of the drama comes in. Every year, fans have their favorite fringe players, guys who looked good in preseason or who had that one memorable moment that made you think, maybe this guy has a future with the team. But when the final roster cuts came through, some of those names didn't survive. And while we can't cover every single player, there are a few that stand out as shocking. One of the most surprising moves came at wide receiver, where a young pass catcher who flashed during training camp was let go in favor of someone with more special teams versatility. That decision tells us something important about how Mike McCarthy and this coaching staff are thinking. They're prioritizing players who can contribute in multiple phases of the game, not just on offense or defense. The Cowboys know that injuries can strike at any time, and when that happens, you need practice squad guys who can step in on special teams and immediately make an impact. On the defensive side, the Cowboys parted ways with a veteran defensive lineman who had been hanging around the roster bubble. This was a guy with experience, someone who fans thought might provide insurance along the defensive front. But instead, Dallas chose to go with a couple of younger, more athletic linemen who fit the mold of what Dan Quinn has been building over the past few years. The emphasis here seems clear: speed, flexibility, and raw potential over a steady but unspectacular veteran presence. It's the kind of gamble that could pay off big if one of these young guys develops quickly, but it also carries some risk because you're giving up that sense of reliability. Another big surprise came at quarterback. Cowboys fans always keep a close eye on the quarterback room, and this year Dallas made a bold move by keeping only 2 quarterbacks on the active roster, with a developmental guy stashed on the practice squad. That means the Cowboys are betting heavily on Dak Prescott staying healthy and their backup being reliable enough if something goes wrong. The practice squad QB might not be someone we expect to see on Sundays, but his presence is crucial for the long-term outlook. He's the insurance policy, the emergency option, and perhaps even a potential project the Cowboys can mold into a contributor down the road. At running back, things got equally interesting. After parting ways with some familiar faces in the offseason, the Cowboys are clearly transitioning to a new era in the backfield. The practice squad now includes a younger back who impressed with his speed and explosiveness in limited preseason action. That means the Cowboys are keeping a close eye on him as a potential call-up if injuries or performance issues hit the main roster. Fans will remember that Tony Pollard himself once went from being an afterthought to a key part of the offense, and that's exactly the kind of trajectory the Cowboys hope to replicate with some of these new names. When we talk about shocking roster moves, though, one of the biggest came in the secondary. The Cowboys let go of a defensive back who many believed had earned a spot through his solid preseason play. Instead, they opted to keep a younger, more versatile cornerback on the practice squad. That decision tells us a lot about where the Cowboys' defensive philosophy is headed. With the way the NFL is trending lots of spread offenses, lots of 3 and 4 receiver sets, you need defensive backs who can line up inside, outside, and even handle some safety responsibilities. It's all about versatility, and the Cowboys are clearly looking for defensive backs who can do it all, rather than specialists who only fit one role. The offensive line also saw some noteworthy moves. Depth on the line has always been a concern for Dallas, especially with the injury history of some of their key starters. This year, the Cowboys stashed a couple of developmental offensive linemen on the practice squad, including one rookie who showed flashes but wasn't quite ready for the big stage yet. That's exactly what the practice squad is for, keeping guys like that around so they can continue to learn, get stronger, and be ready if their number is called later in the season. Fans should keep a close eye on these names, because offensive line injuries are almost inevitable during a long NFL season, and these practice squad guys often end up protecting the quarterback when the starters go down. So, what does all of this mean for the Cowboys as we head into the 2025 season? Well, for one, it shows that Dallas is doubling down on youth and upside. The coaching staff and front office are betting on their ability to develop raw talent rather than sticking with safer, more experienced options. It also shows a clear emphasis on versatility. Players who can do more than one thing are being valued higher than specialists. That's a trend we've been seeing across the league, but Dallas seems especially committed to it this year. It's a gamble, sure, but it's the kind of gamble that can pay huge dividends if even a couple of these practice squad players develop into reliable contributors. It also means that fans should get used to seeing some of these names pop up throughout the season. Remember, the NFL now allows more flexible movement between the active roster and the practice squad. That means you'll likely see several of these players elevated on game days, maybe even multiple times, depending on injuries and matchups. These aren't just practice bodies, they're part of the plan. And for the Cowboys, who have Super Bowl aspirations, every little piece of depth matters. Of course, the big question everyone will be asking is whether the Cowboys made the right calls. Did they let go of a veteran who could have helped them down the line? Did they keep a younger player who might not be ready yet? Those debates are going to rage all season long, especially if one of these cuts ends up shining for another team. That's the double-edged sword of roster management in the NFL. You can only keep so many guys, and every decision comes with the risk that someone you let go will come back to haunt you. But that's the business of football, and the Cowboys are showing confidence in their scouting, their coaching, and their vision for this team. At the end of the day, the finalization of the practice squad is just another step toward the ultimate goal. The regular season is here, and the Cowboys now have their full roster and reserves in place. The players who made it will be celebrating tonight, while the ones who didn't will be looking for another opportunity, maybe with another team. That's the harsh reality of the NFL. Dreams are made and broken in these final roster cuts. But for the Cowboys, the story is just beginning. With their depth chart set and their practice squad finalized, all eyes turn to Week 1 and the journey ahead. And that's where we'll leave it for now, Cowboys fans. We've broken down the shocking cuts, the surprising practice squad additions, and the roster philosophy that Dallas is carrying into the 2025 season. The question now is simple: will these moves pay off when the games start to matter? Only time will tell, But one thing's for sure, the Cowboys have made bold decisions, and they're not afraid to bet on youth, versatility, and upside. If you're as excited as I am to see how this all plays out, make sure you're subscribed to the channel, because we'll be covering every twist and turn of the season as it unfolds. Hit that like button if you're ready for Cowboys football, and don't forget to subscribe for all the latest news, updates, and analysis. This season is going to be a wild ride, and you won't want to miss a second of it.